Right, welcome again to Huckins on Film. I'm your host, Kyle Huckins, and we're talking about The Man of Steel. I actually saw this a couple days ago. I suck at scheduling, there's just no two ways about it. So this is the first chance I've really had to talk about Man of Steel. I'd lead off with the trailers, but honestly I missed them all. I got in just as the opening credits were starting. I really don't know a polite way to start this, so I'm just gonna start. This movie sucks. This was really bad. And I kind of knew we were in trouble from the beginning. Like during the credits, because the theme started, and it's Hans Zimmer. And okay, I love Hans Zimmer. I love his Batman scores. I'm not knocking Hans Zimmer, but he failed Superman theme 101. The Christopher Reeve one. Da, 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 Superman! The animated series from the 90s. Superman, Superman, that's right, my name's fucking Superman. If you don't have that 3-note beat where you can get in Superman, it's bullshit. You know, just the arm comes up, 2 minutes for bullshit. And Hans blew that one. And I immediately knew this was not going to be good. I didn't think it was going to be this bad, though. Oof. This is a dog. I saw it in IMAX 3D. If you ever get the chance to see a Zack Snyder film in 3D, don't. Oh my god. I don't have a lot of problems with shaky cam. I mean, if it's overdone, it irritates me. I got nauseous I almost threw up during this movie. Because everything was so shaky. I seriously... It was like watching the first 10 minutes of Irreversible. That's as far as I got into that movie. The constant motion, I wanted to throw up. I couldn't deal with it. And this was 2.5 hours of this bullshit. Also, the 3D added nothing. There was maybe one scene that didn't look completely flat to me. So yeah, there was just... Avoid it in 3D. But maybe if I'd seen it in 2D, I would have been a little less annoyed. But... Now, it's a Zack Snyder film. I'm not really a Zack Snyder fan. I've only seen 2 of his movies, to be full disclosure. I've only seen Dawn of the Dead, which, believe it or not, I like. It's not a great zombie movie, but I think it's passable. I'm also one of the few weirdos out there who... I've watched the original one a few times, and I really don't like it. I seriously don't get why everyone loves that movie so much. I mean, Savini's gore is great, but to me, the tonal inconsistency and how threatening the zombies are, it's far too inconsistent a movie to be considered a classic to me. I also saw his Watchmen, which is an odd one because I didn't like it, but I don't really know what he could have done to make it better. Other than maybe recast Silk Spectre, because Malin Ackerman was wasn't doing it for me. I've seen her more comedic stuff. I think she's a really good comedic actress, but I wasn't buying her as Silk Spectre. Not at all. This one, the script is atrocious. It really is. I can't put any of this on the actors. The script's a nightmare. I mean, Kevin Costner, he plays Jonathan Kent. He does it's a very microscopic part almost. And all of his dialogue is stuff that would make George Lucas cringe. I was expecting him to say, "Clark, you will bring balance to the Force." It's just the most hackneyed "you are the Messiah" dialogue ever. I mean, it's almost him just. They might as well have just had Lawrence Fishburne play him just so he could keep repeating that "you are the one." This wouldn't have been so bad, except almost every other character in the movie has this as their dialogue too. Like Russell Crowe as Jor-El. Most of his dialogue's the same. I like Crowe's character better. Then again, he had more to do. Hell, he's more the hero of this movie than Superman is. And Jor-El's a dick in this. And again, so is Clark. I'll get into that later. Michael Shannon is Zod. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to the character. And I mean, that was kind of the point of it. But it still didn't make it that interesting. That said, Michael Shannon, he had it up to 11. He was just... He was bringing the menace, he's very over the top. He was fun to watch. I mean, to me, the best scenes in the movie are where Michael Shannon and Russell Crowe are interacting. Because those two, they were trying. They had nothing to work with, but they were really trying, and they're very good at their job. So, those scenes were actually kind of fun to watch. I say Kevin Costner's just... And Kevin Costner got the same problem as most of the characters. You know, Lois Lane starts off as like Batman, but a better detective. Like, seriously, her detectives are just... Well, at first that's what you think, because she manages to figure out who he is. As the movie goes on, you think less of her detective skills because pretty much everyone knows that Clark is Superman. This whole secret identity thing, no, not happening. I mean, he's supposed to be Clark Kent by day, Superman by, to protect those around him. Well, yeah, he does it. It's really my main problem with this movie is, Superman's known for being strong, almost invulnerable, heat vision, X-ray vision, all that stuff. A lot of people, including David Goyer, who wrote the script, forget that Superman, a smart guy. He's frequently had to outwit Lex Luthor and Brainiac. And he's done it. Time and time again. He's a very... That's when you know you've got a really bad Superman portrayal. Is when they forget that Superman is very smart. I mean, yeah, he's the Boy Scout with the broom handle up his ass. But he's not dumb. This movie, they forget that. Because he's kind of dumb in this. No, actually he's really dumb in this. That's, points I've heard elsewhere. Oh. Also this movie has some of the most ham-fisted religious allegory on the planet, because there's all this talk of Superman being the one who will lead humanity into the light. So of course they make him 33 years old. It just... Really? We're making The Last Temptation of Kal-El? Fuck off, Zack Snyder. I understand what a powerful symbol Superman is, what a powerful character he is. But you're going to turn him into Jesus? I mean, if I were a Christian, that would piss me the fuck off. Seriously, I'm an atheist and it still kind of annoyed me. It's like, no, you've got Superman and Jesus crossed up, dude. They both have their own mysterious ways they work in, but, not the same guy. Ugh. Let me see, what else bugged me? Anyway, he moves a lot of the continuity of Superman around, which is fine, but he does it in such a way that, seriously, Metropolis doesn't need to be in this movie. Because all of this takes place before, screw it, we're getting into spoilers here. I can't really get into what a terrible movie this is without some spoilers. So, yeah, I hated it. I think it's really ham-fisted and the dialogue is painful. So, yes, quite bad. Avoid. There's my non-spoiler. Now we're getting into the fucking spoilers here. This all takes place before, like, at the tail end, Clark Kent exists and starts to work at the Daily Planet. Yeah, that's it. But yes, most of this takes place in Kansas. It's just that Zod's plan involves a ship. It's over Metropolis and the Indian Ocean. And these ships look like the fucking Reapers from Mass Effect. Only they pull more of an Independence Day sort of thing. That'll be the fun thing for a sequel is, seeing what's left of Metropolis, because Metropolis gets destroyed. And this goes back to Superman being stupid. He's fighting Zod. Like, Metropolis got hit pretty hard by this machine to begin with. It gets defeated by creating a black hole inside it that smashes it, brings it back to the Phantom Zone. Which also leads to one of the funniest, most obvious physics screw-ups ever. Because there's cars, giant chunks of concrete and macadam floating up towards the singularity, and Lois Lane, who weighs far, far less than these large pieces of masonry, falling down. So Superman can save her, because it's really all she exists for in this movie. Another sign you've got a bad Superman on your hands. Anytime Lois Lane is just the damsel in distress. I mean, I know throughout the years she's gotten herself into a lot of scrapes and needed Clark. But there have also been plenty of times where she has shown she's pretty resourceful and quite capable of taking care of herself. There's none of that in this movie. I mean, she only becomes somewhat useful because the hologram of Jor-El tells her how to defeat Zod's plan. Like I said, Jor-El's the hero of this. Because Superman's not very smart. Anyway, my other problem with him not being smart. Climactic battle between him and Zod in Metropolis. What's left of Metropolis gets destroyed. And it's not because it's just Zod. I mean, Superman's grabbing Zod and throwing him at buildings that were otherwise unharmed and having them fall on him. Like, Superman's using Zod to destroy Metropolis. A good portrayal of Superman, he would be trying to lure Zod away from the city and have it out there. Or Zod would be threatening thousands of bystanders and he'd be doing his damnedest to save them all. In this, his body count's just as high as Zod's. It really is. It's just... Wow, Superman's really bad at this. I mean, I know it's his first, but... like, his humanity, his decency, his willingness to die to protect people, none of that is on display here. Because he probably kills as many people as Zod does. It's just a complete misunderstanding of the character. And it's aggravating as hell to watch. I think Henry Cavill did a fine job. Again, even though he's the main character, he really got kind of a nothing part. I mean, early on it's kind of interesting because he's a drifter. The first, 40 minutes of this movie is basically the old Bill Bixby Incredible Hulk series. Like, every time he's walking down the road, I was just waiting to hear dun 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 dun, dun 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 dun. And just, no, Zach, wrong. You know, he's it's playing out like that, but he looks like Wolverine. I think Zach read a lot of comics preparing for this, and none of them had the word Superman on them. It's really what I think. Because, oh, God. Now, the visuals, I will admit, were really good. They were easily the... When I wasn't about to throw up because of the shaky cam, the visuals were great. There's one scene, there's a part where he's talking to Superman's talking to the hologram of Jor-El. And Jor-El's explaining to him the history of Krypton. And it's the most plain, stock dialogue you've ever heard. You know, this was clearly written in someone's sleep. But in the background, mosaics kept forming, that CGI mosaics kept forming, displaying the history. And honestly, if there had been no dialogue and it just kind of did that, probably would have worked a lot better. Because those visuals were great. It's just, every time somebody talks in this movie, it hurts. It's the only way I can put it. It's really bad. I'm sorry I keep going back to this, but wow. Seriously, almost all the dialogue in this movie is so stilted that Goyer must have gotten a nosebleed or two writing it, or at least passed out from oxygen deprivation due to the altitude. Woof. Almost no one in this speaks like a normal human being. This was maybe like a shade better than those old Speed Racer cartoons where every third sentence summarized the previous two. Actually, it may not even be better than that. Oof. But, at least the Speed Racer cartoons were just goofy anyway, and you can go with it. This was supposed to be kind of gritty and grounded, and dialogue just kept clashing with us. Yeah, no one talks like this. Ever. And the worst part of it all is it didn't need to be this way because this is yet another origin story. Everyone knows his origin by now. Just move along. So a little exposition about Zod, have him show up, have him and Michael Shannon kick the crap out of each other. It could have been so much better. But they had to do another origin story. And it was like, him, Spider-Man, Batman, three guys. You don't need to do any more origin stories. Everyone knows. You can just... No, you don't have to redo the origin story for this new continuity. We all know it. Just say, look, it's a new continuity. And just go from there. Or you know what? If you're going to do the origin, just do it in a fucking montage. Just 5 minutes, roll the credits, hit the ground running. No, we gotta waste more time. That's another thing this movie's good at, is wasting time. Because there's long stretches of nothing happening. And even when stuff finally breaks out, those fight scenes seem to just go on really long. Just, ugh. Another weird thing is, I like Michael Shannon as Zod, but really, his second in command seemed to be a little scarier and a little more well developed. It's Fiora I think. Yeah, I think that's her name. Played by Ansha Trow. The only other thing I've seen her in was Pandorum, which I enjoyed. It's not a great movie, but it doesn't have any pretensions to be one. It's fun. There are worse ways to kill 90 minutes. She's actually pretty scary. Zod, Michael Shannon's Zod, he's a ruthless zealot. He is willing to do whatever he has to do. He doesn't care who gets it his way. Fiora, I screw up her name. She wants people to get in her way. She enjoys violence and murder and she's... in a way, I thought she was kind of scarier than Zod because she gets off on it. Zod's colder, more detached. He's going to do what he has to do. No one's going to stand in his way. If everyone just wants to stand down, get out of his way, let him do his thing, he's fine with that. She'd be pissed because there was no fight. So, I kind of like her a little more as a villain. That was one of the few upsides. One last thing on the Superman's powers and the visual effects. When the show's X-ray vision kick in, it totally reminds me of They Live. Which is probably another thing that annoyed me with this movie, because I'm seeing that and I'm thinking, I could be watching They Live right now. I fucking love They Live. If you don't, you need to get yourself right with the hot rod and do that, man. Watch that. Yeah, it's just one of those weird things. I'm like, it's cool if... Like, wait, where... It's fucking They Live. Holy shit. I mean, they're not all like blue and red, obviously, but still, it's very reminiscent of They Live. Just odd little thing. But yeah, trying to think if there are any other spoilers. Oh, they changed Jimmy Olsen to Jenny Olsen in this. Don't know why they bothered. They never even say her name. She's got, like, no part in this. Same with Perry White. Like, they got Lawrence Fishburne. His part's so nothing. Like, why did they waste the money? They could have gotten anyone to play Perry White. He's barely in the damn movie. I mean, basically, Metropolis doesn't need to be in a Superman movie. That's like doing a Batman movie without Gotham. How do you fuck that up? Seriously, how do you fuck that up? Anyway, it's just going to be more insane, pissed off redundancy, so I'm going to cut this off now. It's Kyle Huckins for Huckins on Film, fucking off.